For centuries, dragons were dismissed as legend, nothing more than the fevered myths of ancient Britannia. But legends have a way of becoming real. 7 dragons, raised by the warrior Drago and the honorable King Gareth, were eventually set free into the world. Among them was the only female, a dragon named Siveth. Guided by purpose and compassion, Siveth found her way to the war-torn kingdom of Wallachia. She came to offer hope to a suffering people. Instead, she was branded a traitor and cast out by the king himself. 20 to 30 years would pass before the consequences of that betrayal would ripple into the life of one unsuspecting young man. We meet Lucas, a simple farmer boy with everything still ahead of him. But fate is rarely kind. One ordinary day, Lucas hears a noise coming from inside his home. He rushes in to investigate, and what he finds destroys his world. His parents have been slaughtered by a band of rogue criminals who call themselves the Wolf, the Bear, the Scorpion, and the Snake. As if murdering his family weren't enough, they torch his home on the way out, leaving Lucas with nothing but 2 of his father's cows and a grief too heavy to carry. Torn apart and burning for revenge, Lucas heads into town seeking help, only to be turned away. Desperate, he sells the cows for whatever he can get, scraping together enough coin to hire a bounty hunter. While searching the crowded marketplace, a name catches his ear, a father calling out to his daughter, Anna. But Lucas has no time for distractions. He finds the local tavern, steps inside, and offers every coin he has to anyone willing to help him track down the men who took everything from him. That's when Darius appears, loud, enthusiastic, and utterly shameless. He offers to help, seemingly content to work for the same price as the other mercenaries. But Lucas hesitates, and that hesitation costs him. Another group of men snatches his money before the deal is done, and within moments the tavern erupts into a brawl. When the king's guards arrive to restore order, Lucas slips away into the chaos. He finds himself hiding near a blacksmith's stall. While concealed, he watches closely and notices something telling. The blacksmith deliberately sells inferior horseshoes, guaranteeing his customers will be back again. When the customer leaves, Lucas steps out and tries to bargain for the man's finest sword. The blacksmith, impressed by the boy's nerve, hands one over and calls it an investment, betting that Lucas will be worth something someday. When the blacksmith asks why Lucas needs a sword, the boy tells him the truth. He's hunting vengeance. The blacksmith nods and gives him one more thing, advice. If he truly wants a fighting chance, he should seek out the dragon. Lucas is skeptical. Dragons are the stuff of myth. But with nothing else to go on, he takes the advice to heart. Heeding the blacksmith's counsel that the dragon responds to offerings of value, Lucas gathers a bag of crop seeds and sets off to find her cave. He makes the exchange and pleads with her for help. Siveth listens, but what she hears troubles her deeply. She can see that Lucas is driven by vengeance, not justice. And so she turns him away. Lucas storms out furious, collapses at a spot nearby, and falls asleep from exhaustion. When he wakes, a white horse is standing over him, and not far off. A saddle and supplies wait as if left there deliberately. He rides on, and when he stops to drink from a stream, a rustling bush sends his heart leaping into his throat, until Darius bursts out of it laughing. The two join forces. When Lucas tells him that the bear has been spotted heading north, Darius suggests they take him out first, since they're already closer to that direction. Darius leads them to an open stretch of land, where they quickly discover that Lucas's horse has a personality all her own. At the sight, Darius does something unexpected. He enlists earthworms to track the bear's trail, claiming with total confidence that he can communicate with animals. According to him, the bear will be returning through that same path, so he leads Lucas to higher ground where they can ambush from above. While they wait, Lucas asks the question that's been gnawing at him. Why is the dragon called a traitor? Darius tells him the story. Years ago, war swept through the land. The king was gravely wounded in battle, and in desperation, he asked Siveth to share her heart with him, an act that would have saved his life. She refused. The king survived anyway, and once recovered, he punished her for that refusal by turning the people against her and banishing her from the kingdom. But before Darius can finish, the horse they've been watching suddenly does something impossible. She transforms. Right before their eyes, she shifts back into Siveth, and she looks none too pleased. Lucas rounds on her, demanding to know if everything Darius said is true. Siveth denies parts of it. Darius insists every word stands. Then Lucas asks how she became a horse at all. Siveth explains calmly. Female dragons can shapeshift into animals, while male dragons shift into stone. She took the form of the horse not to deceive him, but to keep an eye on him, to make sure he was safe. Darius, unimpressed, calls it guilt masquerading as concern. That's when things break open. Siveth and Darius fall into a heated argument, with Darius warning Lucas point blank that Siveth will betray him, just as she betrayed the king. He gives Lucas an ultimatum. Choose between the two of them, because he refuses to ride alongside her. The choice isn't hard. When you're facing dangerous criminals, a fierce, fire-breathing dragon is a more reassuring ally than another mortal. Darius leaves, and soon enough, his absence is felt. Lucas steps away from camp and walks straight into an ambush. The bear and his band of barbarian raiders have found them. In the chaos, Lucas realizes he left his sword on the ground while listening to Darius' story. He calls out for Siveth, and she answers immediately. While Siveth holds off the raiders, Lucas scrambles to reach his weapon. The bear spots him and gives chase. Lucas reaches higher ground, but a barbarian grabs him by the belt and begins swinging him around like a ragdoll. Then, in an almost comedic turn of fate, the cheap craftsmanship of the blacksmith's belt proves to be the bear's undoing. The buckle snaps, and the bear goes tumbling over the cliff, crashing onto the rocks below. Siveth stands over the scene, visibly shaken. Death, she tells him, is never something she can look at with peace. She is troubled, and she makes Lucas promise that from this point on, he will listen to her. He agrees. With the bear gone, Lucas tells Siveth they need to go west. That's where the wolf has been headed. They set off together at sundown and make camp in the forest. But when morning comes, the wolf and his raiders are already surrounding them. Siveth handles the attackers with swift, decisive force. When the wolf himself lunges at Lucas, she catches him in her claws before he can strike. She turns to Lucas with a warning. This man may be more valuable to them alive. The wolf, to everyone's surprise, agrees to cooperate. He offers to take them to the others. But before they drag him along, Lucas presses him, what drove him to this life? The wolf's answer is unexpectedly human. He lost his family to criminals years ago. He hunted them down for revenge, just like Lucas is doing now. But once it was done, something inside him didn't stop. It just kept going, until hurting people became all he knew how to do. The wolf leads the group to a hut where the snake is waiting with her men for the rest of the gang. Siveth devises a quick plan. The wolf will lure them out while she attacks. Lucas watches the perimeter. But then the wolf spots something on the rooftop, Darius, trying to smoke them out through the roof. The trio watches to see if the plan has any merit. It doesn't. Darius crashes straight through the roof and into the building. Moments later, he comes sprinting back out, with every man in the place right behind him. Realizing Darius is in serious danger, Siveth swoops in. The snake orders one of her men to destroy the messages inside before they can be seized. But Siveth freezes the building solid, cutting off any escape. In the scramble, Lucas spots the snake slipping away and gives chase. Darius and Siveth race to help. But in the rush, Siveth fires her ice breath and misses, catching Darius instead. And in that careless moment, a truth is accidentally revealed. Siveth and Darius share a bond. Siveth insists they bring the snake back to town to face proper justice. That night, as the trio sets up camp, Darius pulls Lucas aside. He tells him to finish off the snake himself, because if he doesn't, Siveth will never allow him the kind of revenge he's truly after. Then Darius opens up about his past. When he was young, a carriage ran his family's wagon off the road. He watched his family die. Somehow, he was found and carried to a monastery where he grew up, only to realize later that it was Siveth who had saved him that day by sharing her heart with him. That bond has tied them together ever since. He urges Lucas to act, but Siveth has been listening. And now she speaks, quietly, but with the weight of a long-buried truth. She reveals what actually happened all those years ago. The king started that war himself, not out of necessity, but out of vanity. He wanted fame and glory. He pushed too far, got hurt, and then fled back to the city in a royal carriage. That carriage, the same one bearing the symbol that Darius remembered as a one-eyed man, was the carriage that ran his family off the road. That symbol wasn't from an enemy. It was the emblem on the flag of the very forces the king had commandeered. As for why she refused to share her heart with the king, she couldn't. She had already given it to someone far more deserving. Someone small and broken and lying in the road after that crash. Someone named Darius. After recovering, the king returned to power, and the first thing he did was destroy her. He turned the people against her, publicly condemned her, and banished her forever. The silence that follows is heavy. Instead of killing the snake, they take her to the town jail the following morning. That evening, Darius sits alone in a tavern, working to decode a message he discovered crumpled in the hands of a messenger inside the frozen house. He'd wondered why that man had been so desperate to burn those papers. Now, piece by piece, the message comes together, and what it says is damning. The king orchestrated all of it. Meanwhile, across the marketplace, a different kind of warmth fills the night. Lucas crosses paths with Anna, the girl whose name he'd heard her father call out days ago. They share a moment of lightness, a welcome reprieve from the darkness surrounding them. He returns to Darius and Siveth in good spirits. But the coded message sits between them like a lit fuse. Then the night turns violent. The scorpion has come for the snake, and his arrival is brutal. He poisons Anna's father and sets the building ablaze. Siveth, Darius, and Lucas rush to the scene. Siveth extinguishes the fire while the other two plunge into the burning building to pull Anna and her father out. Anna reveals she's a healer, she promises she can save him, and she takes her father away in the care of the guards. Lucas turns to Siveth and tells her they need to go, now. The scorpion and the snake are getting away. But Siveth holds back, because now that the king is behind everything, the situation is far more complicated than a simple chase. Lucas doesn't want to hear it. To him, it sounds like another excuse, another betrayal, just like Darius had warned. He takes off alone to hunt the criminals himself. Siveth tries to reason with Darius. The two split up, Siveth moving to retrieve the incriminating papers, Darius going after Lucas. It's a plan that almost immediately unravels. Darius catches up to Lucas, but they walk straight into a trap. Darius fights to cover their retreat, urging Lucas that staying alive matters more than anything. Lucas makes it out, only to find himself exactly where the scorpion wanted him. He's poisoned. The snake is closing in. And somewhere behind him, the scorpion has Darius pinned underwater, drowning him by inches. Siveth, so close to securing the papers, suddenly feels it. Through their bond, she sees what Darius sees. She knows he's dying. She abandons the mission without a second thought and flies. Darius, in a final surge of desperation, tears the arrow from his own abdomen and drives it into the scorpion. It's enough. The scorpion goes still. Siveth arrives to find Lucas barely holding on, and the snake attempting to talk her way to freedom with smooth, manipulative words. This time, Siveth doesn't hesitate. She deals with the snake herself. Lucas, breathless and barely conscious, apologizes for not trusting her. But Siveth and Darius aren't interested in apologies right now. They're terrified for his life. Darius tells Siveth to take Lucas first. She promises to come back for him. Weeks later, Lucas wakes at the monastery. Anna is there. She nursed him back from the edge. He is alive. But the peace doesn't last. The king arrives with his men and the townspeople in tow, publicly accusing Siveth of harboring criminals and committing an even greater act of treason. Siveth faces him, calm, steady, and unafraid. She speaks the truth about everything he has done. The king sneers back. She has no proof. And then Darius walks in. Beside him is the wolf, who looks the king in the eye and confirms everything. He testifies that the king hired them deliberately, ordering them to terrorize the weakest and most vulnerable people first, so that when the king finally stepped in to solve the problem, the people would worship him for it. Siveth then makes an offer to the crowd. Anyone willing to stand against the king will have her full protection. One by one, the voices rise. Every person complicit in the king's scheme steps forward. The weight of testimony becomes impossible to ignore. The king is arrested, shamed before the very people he tried to manipulate. And in the aftermath, justice finally exhales. Both Darius and Lucas get what they sought. The kingdom begins to breathe again. And Siveth, who has been quietly holding onto every bag of crop seeds that the villagers offered her over the years in exchange for her help, brings them all out. Enough seeds to end the hunger that has plagued Wallachia for far too long. The people celebrate long into the night. And that is where our story ends. This was a recap of the 2020 film Dragonheart. Vengeance, directed by Ivan Silvestrini. So, what do you think of Lucas's bravery? Despite his young age, he faced grief, betrayal, and near death, and still found his way to something greater than revenge. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.